Speaking of reality TV, I don't know if you saw Celebrity Apprentice.
I did.
But it's a great show, yeah. Has Donald Trump called you for advice or talked to you at all? And first of all, you're giving him some pretty good advice so far, if you have.
Yeah.
But has he called and talked to you? I would call you if I was right.
No, he hasn't. No.
No.
Not that I know of. No.
What do you think the Republicans are happy with their choice?
We are, but I don't know how they're feeling. So, actually, you know what? That was too easy. But
sorry.
The truth is, actually, I am worried about the Republican Party, and I know that sounds, you know,
Yeah.
you know what it sounds like. But,
yeah.
But democracy works. This country works when you have two parties that are serious and trying to solve problems, and they got philosophical differences, and they have fierce debates, and they argue, and they contest elections. But at the end of the day, what you want is a healthy two-party system. And you know, you want the Republican nominee to be somebody who could do the job if they win. And you want folks who understand the issues and where you can sit across the table from them and you have a principled argument and ultimately can still move the country forward. So I actually am not enjoying, and I haven't been enjoying over the last 7 years, watching some of the things that have happened in the Republican Party, because there's some good people in the Republican Party. There are wonderful Republicans out in the country who want what's best for the country and may disagree with me on some things, but are good, decent people. But what's happened in that party, culminating in this current nomination, I think is not actually good for the country as a whole. It's not something Democrats should wish for, and my hope is that maybe once you get through this cycle, there's some corrective action and they get back to being a center-right party and Democratic Party being a center-left party, and we start figuring out how to work together.
Was that harder for you going in as president and realizing, well, that people are going to go, like, not work with me? Republicans are not going to work?
It exceeded my expectations, because when I came in, we were in the middle of crisis, and usually your hope is that, all right, we can play political games, but when stuff is serious, when we're losing 800,000 jobs a month, when we've got 180,000 troops in Afghanistan and Iraq, that we're going to buckle down here for a second, put the politics aside, and just get stuff done. And that did not happen.
Like, what's the Supreme Court thing? What's happening with that? Because I know there's a seat need to be filled.
So there's a good case in point. The Supreme Court makes the law, interprets the law of the land, and it's binding all across the country. And right now, we're supposed to have 9 Supreme Court justices because you know, the passing of Justice Scalia. We only have 8. And so it's hard for the Supreme Court to do its job. Now, I've nominated somebody who uniformly, everybody, including Republicans, acknowledges is probably one of the most qualified guys who's ever been nominated for the seat, Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland.
Very common name. Yeah,
he's the chief judge of probably the second most important court in the land. He's been a judge longer than many of the judges who are now justices on the Supreme Court. Republicans in the past have said he has impeccable credentials, he's smart, he's got a good temperament, he knows how to work with people from all political spectrums, but some of them won't even meet with him, and so far at least they haven't given him a hearing. And that's an example of where if the process of democracy starts breaking down to that degree, where you can't even show the courtesy of meeting with a guy who you know is qualified, and you won't give him a hearing because you want to wait and see if maybe your guy wins the election and nominates somebody, then you start seeing the court system breaking down, you start seeing vacancies, people can't get access to the courts, and you see the country start dividing in ways that's really unhealthy. So that's a good example of my hope that the Republican Party steps back and reflects and says, you know what, that's not the way we should be doing business, because we don't want Democrats to be doing business if we have a Republican president.
How about, like, would you ever think to do that job? Because you're a lawyer. Can you appoint yourself?
Myself?
Yeah. That'd be kind of.
You know,
Aren't you happy I'm not in the White House?
I am.
Like, it's bad ideas.
Yeah.
I just have bad ideas.
No, I mean, I look pretty good in a robe, but it's not something that I think is the best way for me to use my time after I get out of office.